Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the midpoint formula. So what we have here is a couple of, points put on our graph. One right here at 3, 5, and another right here at 7, 15. So if we wanted to connect them, and I know this is going to be the ugliest line you have ever seen. I'm so sorry. It's awful, but I'm not the best screenwriter in the world. So we can connect them through a poorly drawn line segment, and then I'm actually going to label my values here, or my coordinates here. So we have 3, 5, and then 7, 15. Now the deal is, in every line segment, we have something called a midpoint. Now that shouldn't be too new of a term or too fancy of a term for us here. A midpoint is the dead center of the line, right? Like the exact middle. Now, I bet a lot of us could look at this line and say, oh, well, I bet it's somewhere around this spot, right? Like it's somewhere around here. The question is, though, where exactly is that? How can we be very specific with where our midpoint is located? Now, to do that, we actually want to use the midpoint formula. The midpoint formula looks like this. It's not like most formulas. It doesn't have an equal sign, and it's written inside of a coordinate. It's really weird, I grant you that. But it looks like this, and then to find the x-coordinate, what we do is we take x1 plus x2 over 2, and then we take y1 plus y2 over 2. Now you're like, wow, I didn't expect this to be too difficult, but we have a million variables in here, right? And we have these subscripts. Like, what the heck does this all mean? Well, it's not as complicated as it looks. Anytime you have coordinates, whether we're finding midpoints, if we're working with the distance formula, heck, maybe we're working with slope. Honestly, in almost any situation in the entirety of mathematics, whenever you have coordinates, what you want to do is you want to label one of those coordinates as x1, y1, and you want to label the other coordinate as x2, y2. Now, that will help us identify what exactly we're talking about whenever we see these variables, such as x1, x2, in a formula. If we're talking about x1, then it's, well, the x-coordinate in one of our coordinates. x2, it's the other x-coordinate, right? Now, it doesn't actually matter which coordinate you make x1, y1, which coordinate you make x2, y2. As long as you have the ones teamed up and the twos teamed up, then it doesn't matter if the top one is your ones, the bottom one is your twos, or vice versa. So really what we're doing here with our formula is we're adding together our x values and dividing by 2 to get our x midpoint, and we're adding together our y values and dividing by 2 to get our y midpoint. Now, you may be thinking, that's pretty much just finding the average of each, and you'd be right. We're just finding the average x-coordinate and the average y-coordinate between the two that we're given. So let's try this out. For our x terms, we are going to do x1 plus x2, otherwise known as 3 plus 7 over 2. Well, 3 plus 7 is 10. We have 10 over 2, and then that gets us 5. We've simplified it all the way down. For our y-coordinates, we have y1 plus y2, otherwise known as 5 plus 15. 5 plus 15 is going to give us 20, and then 20 over 2 gets us 10. So let's not forget to write this in coordinate form, 5, 10, but that's exactly our midpoint, 5, 10. We found the average x, the average y, and we made a coordinate out of them. Whether your points are positive, negative, a mix of those, you're going to do the same thing every single time. Now, there are instances where you may get a fraction that doesn't want to divide out into a perfect whole number. Maybe you get 3 over 2, otherwise known as 1.5. Now, while you guys may know I'm not usually a big fan of decimals, in this case, it's okay. You know, if we got to have a decimal, we got to have a decimal. It's certainly easier to graph a number like 1.5 than it is to graph 3 over 2, right? So this is the midpoint formula, though. It's not too tough, but if you have any questions about it, if you run into anything that gets you stumped or a little confused, feel free to drop a comment below. I'll help out, and we'll make sure everything's looking good. Thanks for watching, guys.